Ninja Flannel. What I've got here is a Discovery Optics 3 to 12 power first focal plane scope at the most extraordinary price point I've ever seen. So here's my 5-point review about what I think about it so far. Before we get started, I want to thank the two sponsors of today's video. One being Discovery Optics, who actually sent me this scope so I can check it out and show you guys. I'll put a link in the description so you can find these if you're interested. The other sponsor is called Aura, which is super cool. They offer like identity theft protection, VPNs. They block your phone number from spam callers, which is really cool to me. So I can get you a 14-day free trial through the channel. There'll be a link in the description as well as the comment section. So check it out. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to start out with just a general overview of the specifications of this scope. We've got a 3 to 12 power first focal plane rifle scope. You've got a 40mm objective lens, which is actually pretty nice, as well as a 30mm tube. The turrets are locking, which is really nice. The parallax and zoom move really smoothly and actually quickly, which is nice because some scopes are very resistive and you can't actually switch zooms very fast. In the box with it, for the nice price point, it comes with the scope rings, it comes with this little wrench thing, as well as a cleaning cloth and the flip up scope caps. So right out of the box, you pretty much have everything you need to mount the scope and start using it. Very cool. It's very solid. As you'll see later in the video, I beat it up pretty good and the rings and the scope and everything survived. So awesome. Moving on. 1. The price. On Amazon, you can get these for $98. So you're talking a first focal plane, 3 to 12 power rifle scope that actually works and works well, and it's under $100. That is just mind-blowing to me that that's even possible. And this is pretty solid. You'll see later, I beat it up pretty good and everything survived. On top of that, the price of this whole rig is less than some scope mounts I have. And you're getting a sunshade, the caps, the rings, whole 9 yards. So price, you can't beat it there. Very affordable. 2. Durability. Anybody can make a scope for under $100 and sell it to you, and it might look like a scope. But the question always is, will it hold zero? Is it going to last? Is it going to take a beating? Well, that's the first thing I did. I tried to break it. As you can see, I flipped it upside down, dropped it a bunch of times, actually threw it into the ground, hit the ground with it a bunch of times, and it wasn't very soft. It looks like grass, but there's a lot of rocks in that soil. So I beat it up pretty good, and it holds zero flawlessly. The only thing it did get me with was if you forget to lock your turrets, they can move as it's wobbling around, which is why they are locking. So to be fair, they just have to be locked and you will have no problems at all. So durability, I'd say it is 10 for 10. No problem there. I held zero. After beating it up, I went out to 300 yards and hit with no problem. 3. The glass clarity. Now, that is one of the things I thought for sure was going to be bad. Like, you're not making a scope at this price point and you're not going to have clear glass as well as durability and all the other stuff. But when I got it, once again, I was pleasantly surprised. It's very clear. It doesn't change your target's color at all. It doesn't distort anything. And it pretty much hangs right with my Vortex Diamondback first focal plane scope, which is pretty decent glass. It's not ultra high end, but the Diamondback's a good scope. And this hung right there with it with no problem. Only thing I would say, around the way edge of the scope, I don't know if you can see it in my picture that well, there's a little bit of distortion right around the outer ring. It didn't really bother me, but it is something to note. 4. The reticle. Now the reticle is actually pretty solid. There's a few things I do like and a few things I don't like. It's their MOA, which is, from what I understand, not the best way to go nowadays, but I'm still used to it and I still like it. I put a 22 conversion in here and I was shooting out to 300 yards. So I actually got to use the droppage marks all the way down to, I think I was using like 30 MOA hash mark down there. So the scope was really nice. It seems to return to zero when you mess with it, and it's easy to use. My one complaint with the reticle is that your primary crosshair, your hash marks are so close to it, at least for my eyes, it's sometimes hard to distinguish where the very center crosshair dot's at. So for me, that was a little bit of a struggle, but as I shot it, I got used to it. But that's something to note, that the very inner part seems a little bit crowded, but that could be a me problem per se. 5. Eye relief and eye box. So for eye relief, it's not the largest window that you get to be in, but as you can see, it's a pretty decent distance that you've got. So if you run a higher powered rifle, I don't feel like the scope hitting you in the eye is going to be much of a problem, assuming you know how to shoot at all. Now, iBox, it's not very forgiving, but once again, this isn't really a high-speed scope. This is more of a precision/hunting style scope. So not really a problem, you just gotta be in the right spot. Not really forgiving in the iBox region. All in all, this is not a bad scope. For the price point, I think it's a good option for somebody who's getting into guns and they wanna get a scope, but they don't wanna spend too much, but they need something they can trust. If you were going high-end to do really, really long-range precision, I wouldn't go with this particular model, but I think this is a good starting point for a lot of people. This video was written and directed by Ninja and Flannel. Like and subscribe.